All right, Mike, so stop Crimson Tide football. This is a team, obviously, once again, dominated the recruiting realm. Nick Saban seems to do this year in and year out. They came out probably the worst season in a decade, which is better than 99% of programs in the country. But that's why Alabama is Alabama. And one of the reasons Alabama is, in fact, Alabama is because of some really smart, insightful moves that Nick Saban makes, it seems, every offseason. We found another big-time moves he just made.
Yeah, Nick, and making all these smart moves makes Alabama a really strong team, but the SEC is a strong conference and there is some competition there for them. So that's why we want to know in the comments below, who is their toughest competition to win the division this year? Who's the toughest competition to make that SEC West be the champions there and go on to the SEC title game? Let us know in the comments below. But Nick, what do you have for the Alabama Crimson Tide?
So one of the things Nick Saban does year in and year out, he seems to bring guys onto his coaching staff that were formerly very successful at other realms in football, mainly NFL, and puts them on like small minor roles. Because Nick Saban, being a smart guy that he is and understanding his strengths and weaknesses, likes to surround him with other smart football minds. Bill Belichick does the same thing in New England. That's why Saban and Belichick are at the very top of their game. And Saban quietly did it again. So this is according to Nittany Lions Wire. A former NFL coach and current Penn State offensive analyst Ken Whisenhunt has joined Alabama's football staff as a special assistant to head coach Nick Saban. ESPN reported Whisenhunt's move to the SEC in Alabama early Thursday morning. Whisenhunt spent the past 2 seasons as an offensive analyst at Penn State. Whisenhunt previously was a head coach of the Arizona Cardinals as well as the Tennessee Titans. His last on-field role was in 2019 when he was part of the Chargers as the offensive coordinator. He did lead the Arizona Cardinals to the Super Bowl as one of his 8 seasons as an NFL head coach. All right, so Whisenhunt is considered a pretty smart, savvy, old-school offensive coordinator. He's not some exciting spread guy. And, of course, that's not what Alabama's trying to do to bring him in. They obviously already got Tommy Rees to be their offensive coordinator. He's going to be the guy. But I love having Whisenhunt as a senior consultant, just another smart, experienced football mind around the room, just to give some ideas, maybe self-scout, things like that. And the fact that Nick Saban is willing to go that extra mile and bring in another experienced head coach, right? Because all these head coaches have egos. You're going to bring in a guy like Whisenhunt who's coached in the Super Bowl. That's one of the things Nick Saban obviously hasn't done. So instead of Nick Saban being worried about his ego at all, he brings in Whisenhunt to get his input whenever he needs it. I think this is another really smart move by Nick Saban in Alabama. He seems to do this every offseason, pulling off a coaching hire like this. Miles, give me your thoughts on Nick Saban in Alabama and the Whisenhunt hire thing. Is this just another example of what Saban does best in terms of building his program?
Oh, yeah. He builds the program and he links people together. And if you have a team that is familiar with each other, that they like each other, they're going to work the best together. You look at Bill O'Brien, another NFL guy coming into Alabama, doing things like that. That was a really smart move. Then you have Whisenhunt, Nick, and you'd think, okay, Tennessee Titans guy, he was big there. Who was a quarterback that played for the Titans? Zach Mettenberger from LSU, who is currently an analyst on Alabama staff and actually
cool.
married to Whisenhunt's daughter. Whisenhunt is Zach Mettenberger's father-in-law, so they are going to get along well, Nick. I like the connection there. I like how
awesome.
they are linked there, and I think that it is strong. You have a staff that can work together like that. They're going to be able to build. There's no kind of wall building. There's no I gotta be the alpha guy. They can work together because they're very, very, very familiar with each other. So I really like that aspect of things, Nick. I think Zach Mettenberger and Whisenhunt are going to work very well together. And I just think that Saban does again. He makes the right moves. He hires the right coordinators. This just seems like a really, really good move to me.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. I did not know that about Mettenberg. That's very interesting, but it is a great point of what Nick Saban does. He goes an extra mile for connections and things like that. And I know a lot of Alabama fans maybe didn't love Bill O'Brien, but the fact of the matter remains, Bill O'Brien is not a bad offensive coach. There were other reasons Alabama struggled on offense last year. I thought the O'Brien hate by some Alabama fans was a little misplaced at times. Bryce Young was obviously hurt. They weren't as good at receiver as they normally have been. It was just one of those years, right? That's not O'Brien's fault. But the fact of the matter remains, Saban is so good at bringing in these guys and putting them in positions to be successful, right? He doesn't bring in Whisenhunt to be, he didn't bring in Whisenhunt as an offensive coordinator, right? He didn't put Whisenhunt, hey, you've been in the NFL game for a long time, come back to college, try and call an NFL offense. No, that would not put Whisenhunt in a position to be successful. He brings in a young gun, Tommy Rees, to call the plays, to manage the offense. And he brings in Whisenhunt as a consultant, a high-level guy taking a high view of the program, self-scouting, watching film, looking at tendencies, things like that, which Whisenhunt, obviously with his decades of NFL experience, would be very adept at. So I think it's just one of those moves. moves. It gives Alabama just a little advantage, right? Like week 8 of the season, you look back and Whisenhunt watching film and say, hey, we're using this formation too much, or when we call this play on third down too much, or things like that. Having that high level view as a senior assistant consultant reporting directly to Nick Saban is one of those moves that it doesn't seem like a big move in the offseason, but when it's 3rd and 5 in the SEC championship game, or it's overtime against LSU, and you're aware of those tendencies and you go against it and you get a big play and win the football game, you see those results on Saturdays and you think, what a great play by that quarterback, receiver, tight end, whatever. But that result actually goes back to the coaching during the week, which is identified by that coach that was hired in the offseason. So I think bringing in Whisenhunt is another example of that by Nick Saban, and this is one of the reasons why he still remains the best coach in college football.